Good evening. This is Jack. How are you guys? The name of this story is Stealing My Cocaine Bag from the DEA. I had built a 44-foot schooner, custom built out of steel, up in Panama City, Florida. It had 4 secret compartments. In Spanish, they're called caletas. They were underneath the fuel and water in the keel. They each held 75 kilos, 4 of them 300 kilos. I had worked out a deal with the Colombians to get the boat loaded down in Puerto La Cruz, Venezuela. Puerto La Cruz is over towards Cumana. It's in the extreme eastern part of Venezuela, right on the coast. It's beautiful, just gorgeous. Got the boat loaded with 3 sailors, captain, first and second mate, all Key West boys, and took the boat up to St. Martin. There were no customs at St. Martin, so they just brought the boat in, put it on the hook, checked in, and the whole idea and destination call was Bar Harbor, Maine. Well, a few days in St. Martin, then on to Bermuda, a few days into Bermuda, and the plan was to walk it in the front door of Bar Harbor. We had it all locked up to pick it up and deliver it to an island right off the coast of Bar Harbor, Maine, and stash it. Well, everything went fine. They got the boat through St. Martin, no problem, up to Bermuda, no problem. And then on the way into Bar Harbor, we wanted to schedule it for Memorial Day. Well, it was kind of shitty weather, and it was terrible, and they got jumped on the way into Bar Harbor the night before by the Coast Guard. Well, when the Coast Guard checked them all out, they were all Key West sailors. And, of course, they were Florida boys, and the boat was foreign flagged. We had set up a corporation Curacao. We brought a Colombian girl over from Medellin over to Caracas, Venezuela, and we provided her with a phony passport and phony papers. Then we had an attorney from the United States go down and set up an offshore corporation in Curacao. So she actually was the #1 owner of the boat, and she just represented the corporation. And it just looked weird to the Coast Guard, who notified the DEA. So when the boat came into Bar Harbor and they brought it up to the T, the DEA showed up and wanted to know who's who. So the DEA was all over the place. Well, we had a bunch of boys working for us, and one in particular we had just sent down to the docks to do intel and recon and surveil the situation. And he'd heard the local Maine boys saying, Jesus, the DEA's all over the place up here. So what we did is we played a little game with them. We thought they were looking at the boat. We had them take off stake off all the sails and put all the laundry together and take all of that off the boat and put it onto the dock. Well, the minute they did that, the DEA jumped them. And when the DEA jumped them, they didn't really think there was cocaine, but they thought there was some weed on board. So they jumped them, they went through the boat, they checked the boat all over, and of course they couldn't find the merchandise, and they wanted to speak to the owners. Well, since she was foreign flagged, there were no owners, so they said to the captain, listen, you take the boat over to West Harbor, dismiss the rest of the crew, and the boat is confiscated until the owners showed up. Well, we said, oh, for Christ's sake. So we called the attorney, and he goes, oh, that's bullshit. They're just fucking with the guys. There's no problem whatsoever, except, the boat's confiscated. Do they have a guard on it? Exactly what does confiscated mean? And, well, the confiscation meant take it over to West Harbor, drop it on the hook, and the boat was not given permission to leave. It had to stay till the owners showed. Well, the following weekend, it started raining and misty and terrible as Maine weather can go, and it was down in the high 40s, low 50s, and it was so foggy and rainy you couldn't see. So I was with the big guy and the packer, a couple of friends of mine that worked closely with me, and we decided we'd come up with a plan and go and crack that boat open and steal our boat back from the DEA. So the idea is I had a brand new Ram Charger. I was going to have the big guy drive up and down West Harbor. There's a little outlining road right there that goes down over the cliffs to the water. And he had a 12-gauge shotgun and a bottle of Jack. And he was going to drive back and forth. And if the police or any uniform guys come by, he's going to crash into the cop car and take a fall for drunk driving. And meanwhile, the packer was going down, and between him and the captain, they cracked open the hatch, and they unloaded the 300 kilos and brought it back to the shore in a Zodiac. And they kept just coming back and forth because the merchandise was in sea bags, and the packer dragged it all the way up over the banking. Well, up on top of the banking of the cliff, I was standing there with my Jeep all full of camping supplies. Well, the packer brought it all up by himself. We managed to stick it into the Jeep, and it went off kind of flawless. It was kind of a crazy harebrained scheme, kind of Cheech and Chongish, but, you know, it still worked. So off we took, and we headed down the road to my brother's house. So we got up to Bangor, and instead of going down I-95, I said, let's go down the back roads. So we took Route 2 all the way down through Herman and Canaan and Norwich Walk and Skowhegan, got down to Farmington, jumped on Route 4, and took Route 4 down to Auburn where my brother lived. Well, by the time we got to my brother's house, it was like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. And I opened the door. Brother had the key under the mat, and I went in. My brother came downstairs. He goes, what's the trouble? And I said, listen, we've been working. We have 300 kilos of cocaine in the Jeep out in the dooryard. My brother said, you have 300 kilos of cocaine at my house with my wife and my little children here? And we go, yes. He goes, have you lost your fucking mind? I said, listen, if we can keep it here 2 days, 25 grand. He goes, oh, well, let's get that shit unloaded. So we unloaded it, put it into, my brother was an antique dealer, and we put it into the back of his shop. And we managed to, you know, get everything all squared away. And a couple of days later, we showed up, got the merchandise, and delivered the merchandise to the Colombians in New York City, at Bayside, and the Queens. Hey, I'll have another one for you in a few days. See you then. Bye.